I've got to record something. Can you sit really quietly? Yeah? Good boy. Right. Ready when you are, Paul.
A Funny Taste in Music with Andrew Bird.
Hello. Yeah, I'm trying to record this intro with a child in the room and I'm trying to get him to sit still. So this could be interrupted at any point, so let's get through it quick. Also, if you're fans of Rhod Gilbert and you're just here to listen to Rhod Gilbert and you have no idea who I am or what this podcast is, you just like Rhod, which is absolutely fair enough. You want me to talk for as little as possible to get into the actual podcast. I get it. Now, there we go. There he's interrupted it immediately. Now, I've supported Rhod on tour, and I'm a big fan of him as a stand-up. Always have been. Also, he's done this mainly, as he explains in the podcast, because we're all in lockdown and he's got literally nothing else to do. God bless him. And when I supported him on tour, a woman in the audience once complained that he did so long on stage that she now had to pay her babysitter another hour. He came off stage, borrowed £20 off of me to give to her to tell her, pay your babysitter with that. That's a bit of fun, bit of a laugh, but he's never paid me back, so he owes me. That's why he's here. So enjoy this. Hope you like it. The Spotify playlist will go along with it. He teased a song that he's going to pick for it. That's going to be on it. So hope you enjoy it.
A Funny Taste in Music. The interview next.
Everything's gone that way now, isn't it? Everything's gone that. We're used to kids interrupting news programmes or what have you.
Remember when we found that funny? Now we're all doing it. So there's no. I'm gonna start wearing a hat. I think.
Start wearing a hat, mate.
There's no.
Get on board.
Yeah, I am. It's going a bit, so I reckon I might.
I haven't got any hair under this, Rob, so I just look like a potato with headphones.
You didn't need to tell me that. You could have got away with it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's the beauty of the hat. You don't need to tell anyone.
Yeah, there's no explaining. Nothing needed. So yeah, there's no start, so that's a relief, isn't it? There's no there's no big introduction. There's no big introduction. I'll do a sycophantic.
Oh yeah,
complimentary intro.
You'll have seen him on. You'll have heard him on Radio Wales a few years ago before he ill-advisedly gave up his radio show just before the live comedy work all disappeared.
Yeah,
you'll remember him from shows such as.
That'll be it. I'll try and display some kind of sincerity towards it as well.
Yeah. He knows his music. You might remember him from UK's Best Part-Time Band in 2016. No? Anyone? No? No, only got one series. No?
On your show, on the show, I do remember thinking you chose a lot of your own music though on that.
All of it, really.
So you
apart from the shit stuff,
feel like you've
Radio Wales had a few choices every now and again. I tried, I broadly chose the music, and then sometimes if I couldn't be bothered or if I didn't have time or something, then the producers down there would choose a few and they'd consult with me and see what I thought, and but generally they got the hang of, or they understood what it was I was trying to do, so they were on board with that, so they were pretty good at choosing stuff as well.
Oh, that's good then. But they was there stuff that they recommended that you said, oh, absolutely not, no?
Every now and again they would try and sneak something a bit more Radio Wales in. We used to have conversations every now and again because it was quite kind of, Radio Wales is very I guess middle of the road it sounds derogatory, but it's not meant to be. It's it's just meant to appeal to the widest number of people, I guess. And Radio Wales is a national radio station of that. That's what they're trying to do. But some of that was a little bit too, to use middle of the road derogatory sense. It was a bit too middle of the road for me. There's nothing wrong with middle of the road, but some of it's a bit too middle of the road for me. Some of it was clinging so tightly to that central reservation that I thought, I'm not having this. And so I would go, no, I can't play that. I'm not playing it. But they were fine. There were never any arguments about it. It was all cool. But I would go to
That's a shame.
go to Six Music, or I would troll the internet or YouTube and just find stuff that I liked. And I tried to introduce new stuff. So I liked it when I got emails going, hey, I'd never heard Bob Evans before, or Songhai Blues, or whatever it was at the time back in the day, or This Is the Kit, or little things like that I would find and bring to Radio Wales, and then they would, that your listeners would discover. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And equally, I used to go to people like Bethan Elvin, who's on Radio Wales and does a proper music show. She's a proper music head, not like me. She's really, really into her music and stuff. And I would go with her and get things from her, recommendations, and pick up stuff from her, and then I would put it on my show. So it was,
nice.
It was a nice little, it's a nice way of finding out new music and discovering new things, and then passing that on to other people. That's all gone from my life now.
Yeah. I feel like this is bringing up bad memories for you now then. Sorry.
This is the right old raking of the bones. Raking of painful, brittle bones.
I like the thought of you ringing her up and going, right, what you got for me? Desperate. I like the thought of those phone calls. What you got?
More like just check into her show. We should a late night show on sort of thing, or we would. I would more like that. So I wouldn't usually like ring her up and go, what you got? Hey, Elvin, what you got for me this week? But I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But I foolishly, I loved that radio show every Saturday morning. Well, not every Saturday morning, but when we were available, when we were around, we used to come in this basement, do that radio show. But then I gave it up to go back on tour, thinking I can't do both.
Yeah.
I can't do a big stand-up tour and a radio show on a Saturday morning. It's just too hard work at my age. So I gave up the radio show, and then of course the whole live scene collapsed, leaving me with nothing. Hence why I'm on this podcast.
Yeah. No.
It's the only reason I'm here, and I want you to know it. I've got nothing.
I don't think I don't know it. I don't. Well, this is why during this intense lockdown, I thought get people like you in quick before they're busy again.
Yeah.
You know that. I know that.
Everyone knows the only reason I'm here is because I've got nothing.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Same. I mean, to be fair, it's exactly the same principle as when you did my podcast a few weeks ago. I know the only reason you did it was to get out of homeschooling for an hour.
There's some busy podcasts at the moment. As soon as Boris Johnson makes an announcement, we're all emailing each other.
I read it yesterday. I don't know if it was a joke or serious. That's how bad it's got. I can't tell. Somebody said that a new podcast starts every 30 seconds. I couldn't tell if that was a joke or genuine or completely.
Oh,
real.
that's funny. That's like the you're never more than 3 meters away from a rat.
Yeah.
Podcasts are getting like rats. That you're right. That sounds almost like a joke, but that could well be true.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. It could easily be true. But it's probably 20 seconds now. That was an hour ago I read that.
Yeah. That's what. Well, I was trying to be the last comedian without a podcast, but I gave in. I wilted as well.
Yeah, well, I think you probably were the last comedian without a podcast, to be fair.
Yeah, I like it when I text someone like you to ask if you'll come on the podcast. I can hear the other end of the phone people going, "Oh, fuck me, another podcast."
I didn't do that, actually.
Didn't you?
No, I thought, there's my lovely friend Andrew Bird asking to do a podcast about music. That sounds like fun. Plus, I've got nothing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, actually.
Don't forget that. Don't forget how important that is here. I've got nothing. I'd
already cornered you on your podcast. I said it and it was recorded and it was documented. Will you come on mine?
Yeah, you had me. Exactly, you had me.
Yeah, that made it awkward.
You had me banged to rights.
Yeah, I did. I remember on that podcast, though, at the start, a very enjoyable
pouring myself a
moment.
coffee. I'm not having a wee. If you can hear something.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't just gone to the toilet. That's me. Just pouring myself a little coffee.
Good point you mentioned that, because I've got the visual here, so I was all right with it.
Yeah, you were all
people
right.
haven't got the audio.
The other thing is my dog is kicking off in the background. I don't know if you can hear that.
That's all right. That's mine's here as well.
That would be a delivery, a parcel, because that's the other thing everyone's doing every 30 seconds, isn't it? I mean, my day today is parcel podcast, parcel podcast, parcel podcast, parcel podcast. I come down here, record a podcast, and then I run upstairs to see somebody disappearing down the street, waving back at me in a parcel somewhere near the house.
Yeah, their job's got a lot easier, isn't it? They don't even have to wait. They're already in the van as you open the door. It's just like Sometimes they take a photo of you with the parcel.
I know that but that really freaks me out. As somebody who's a little bit in the public eye, that really freaks me out. And of course
at
they
first
don't.
you just thought that was you.
No, it's not that I just thought it was me, but it just unsettles me a bit, you know, because they're taking a picture of you on your doorstep with your house number, everything clearly thing, you know. So I haven't done anything about it, but I don't know what to do about it.
I'll be honest.
Maybe I'll start coming out with a bag over my head.
At first, I thought they really liked our dog because the dog was always there at the door. I thought, must be dog lovers. Dog lovers. A lot of these.
I mean, some of them probably are. There's probably the Venn diagram. There is a crossover between delivery drivers and dog lovers.
Yeah, it's got to be a link. They get barked up a fair bit. I was doing flyering through doors for our comedy club and getting barked at by dogs. I
was going to say, has it got that bad, Birdie?
No, not this was before.
I thought you just meant for like things like pizzas and stuff like that.
No, yeah, the pizza offers. Yeah, my Virgin Media need to know that I am never going to go to Virgin. They need to stop posting me free stuff.
I wish they'd post me. I'll happily go.
Oh, I won't.
BT can fuck right off.
Oh.
Have you seen my broadband speed? I'm having to use. I've got a cable running from here all the way up there, up the stairs, round there, and up to my modem. I have to cable it because I'm in London and the internet is so bad. I'm on 10 Mbps. 10 millibits, whatever it is, in central London.
Yeah.
I spoke to Barry, our producer on the Froth podcast, get the plug in.
Yeah.
I said, what are you? Yeah. I said, what's your speed at the moment? Check your speed. He said 300.
You're on 10?
I'm on 10, he's on 300. Mind you, I went to Pembrokeshire last week to do a bit of work down there in rural West Wales. I checked the speed down there, 8.
Yeah, but that seems more acceptable in rural Wales.
Yeah, it does.
That's part and parcel with the views that you get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's the countryside.
Yeah, exactly. You get the views.
But in London, you're getting none of that. You're getting the congestion. You're getting all the urban, and you're getting none of the speed of the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you'd hope for if you have to. Exactly.
I'm cabled as well. Also with BT.
Are you all cabled up? Are you?
Yeah, I'm fully plugged in here.
Do you know what really winds me up is that BT constantly send us things going on about how great they are and how fast it is and how super fast. And you're like, mate, I know exactly how fast it is, mate. 10.
Yeah.
Out of at least 300.
Yeah. But yeah, so Virgin though, they can still every day I'm getting something from them. I'm not eating Domino's. They need to give in as well. But no, I was flying for the comedy club, putting flight from our comedy club in Bicester, and dogs barking every time you put a flyer through. And it's a low moment when you hear yourself out loud telling a dog to fuck off, isn't it? Yeah. You hear a dog barking, you just instinctively go, fuck off.
Oh, fuck off. Life's tough enough as it is. Yeah. Got to get people to my Zoom comedy club on lockdown without you shouting at me.
Yeah, but so on the radio show as well, on the podcast, I remember we were talking and there was a bit at the start where you mentioned Dr. Feelgood, all right?
Oh, yeah, I did, and
Sian, your wife, clearly had no clue who Dr. Feelgood was.
No idea.
Yeah? And I could hear in your voice immediately that mischievous twinkle that you were aware immediately she didn't know who Dr. Feelgood was.
Yeah, I was on it. On it.
Yeah, it was very enjoyable.
Like a greyhound who's just had his first nip of rabbit's tail. I was like, fucking, she's going down. She's going down.
And
she was like a rabbit going round the bend. I was like the greyhound who just nipped at the tail, then the rabbit's gone into the bend, and the greyhound's lost her a bit, but that rabbit's had it. She was goner.
Yeah.
She was a goner. Yeah. You don't know who Dr. Feelgood is? Oh, the fun we had with that. So is it? Yeah, who is it? Who did? Force her to guess. That's the next move. Always, once you got somebody there on the ropes like that, force them to guess who Dr. Feelgood is, and then sit back and enjoy.
Exactly what you did.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly your technique.
Of course.
I can't
push her up against. You get finger in the chest, up against the fence. Who is he? Dr. Feelgood.
I think she thought he was someone from Wales, didn't she?
Probably. She thinks everyone's from Wales.
Yeah.
I can't remember what she said. You'll have to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, go back, listen to that, listen to the podcast. Yeah. So there immediately, my ears were twigged that Rhod knows some. Rhod knows that's not middle of the road. That's something you'd have had to push to get on Radio Wales. A bit of Dr. Feelgood, I'd say.
Well, I certainly would have played it, But
Oh, that was good.
again,
So
like I say, I was pushing an open door with Radio Wales. They were very good. You know, that's the thing with music producers as well. Music show producers, they like a bit of that, don't they? They like a bit of slightly less, less stuff that's played a little bit less.
It is a good feeling, like you just said a minute ago. It's quite addictive, that. Hang on, there's my one. Hang on.
There's your dog.
Go on then. Hang on, I'm going to have to go let him in the house. I'll be 1 second. Right, go on then, go in. I'm in the office,
Welcome back.
in the garden, and he barks at the door to be let out, and then I let him out, and then he goes and barks at the back door to be let in the house.
Yeah.
So I've got to go run and let him in, and then
I mean, to be fair to him, he's got nothing else to do, has he?
I emptied half a box of biscuits on the kitchen floor to try and keep him there for at least half an hour. And the kids don't help. They just, when he gets
No, I expect
upstairs...
did they spot the biscuits all over the kitchen floor?
no, they're dog biscuits, but they'll have them as well.
Yeah.
But they, whenever he does something wrong, they find it funny to go, "Good boy, Tony." If he climbs on the fucking table and steals food off the plate, they'll go, "Good boy, Tony." They find it hilarious. But yeah, I was going to say it is a good feeling, like you said on the radio. That must be addictive when you put something a little bit, not just. Off,
and I loved
off
looking
the
for
middle of
stuff
the
as
road.
well. I loved looking. I miss that. That's missing from my life now. That thing of looking for music. That just obviously going through record shops and stuff at the moment is a no-no under lockdown. But just going out into the world and looking for stuff. So I used to go to the Six Music a bit. I'd go to you just get on Spotify, things like that, and just start. Just see, because one thing always leads to another, doesn't it? As soon as you start looking for music, before you know it, you've lost half a day, and you've gone through so much different stuff. But I like to think I brought a few things to Radio Wales on a Saturday morning. But there again, it's kind of low risk as well because it was a small show with hardly anyone listening to it. And so they were also quite happy to take a risk on stuff. I think if it had been a popular show, then I wouldn't have got away with it.
Don't say that.
Do you know what I mean? I think they'd have had more of an eye on it and gone, hang on a minute, we've actually got quite a few listeners now. Stick Celine Dion.
Yeah.
Stick Celine Dion on repeat.
I'm not having it, Rod. I've heard how popular that show was. I'm not having it. You can't keep doing this.
Yeah, but you heard that from me.
Anymore.
You heard that from me. I'm telling you now, full disclosure. Nobody listened to it. I always used to joke about how nobody listened to it, and it wasn't a joke.
But it's a good feeling though. You must miss that. I'm hoping, because there's got to be people out there that are into a band, obsessed with a band, and they'll be out to say, how'd you get into them? Heard it on Rhod Gilbert's radio show. That's a good feeling. I'm hoping.
Yeah, well, I miss that. I miss that. That has gone from my life. That thing of the idea of that you are introducing stuff that you really love and you're excited about somebody else getting into or liking or just then. That's gone from my life. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Well, you can text me every now and again.
Yeah, I can text you. Have you heard this? Yeah, I suppose I could do that.
Yeah. I do that. That's all I've got.
Actually, that's reaching just as wide an audience as the Radio Wales radio show. In fact, if I'd just done text to all, that would probably reached a wider audience than doing live radio for 12 years.
I think it might have been this attitude that was pushing listeners away, Rod.
Yeah.
They'd have
had to have come in the first place to do that.
Yeah, but did you ever listen to Bob Harris? He was a good one to find new stuff. Radio.
Yes, yeah. Yes, sometimes.
Him.
Yeah.
So now, what do you do? Just like, what else did you used to do when you say you used to go out there and look? I like the thought of you scavenging.
I'm trying to think. Actually, Six Music was
Spotify.
Well, Six Music was probably my main one. I used to go to Apple Music, and I would go on there and I would just literally do things like this. So I would go into Apple Music, have a look at curated playlists on Apple Music, and then I would go, okay, so let's go to French hip hop, which I quite like, or let's go to French electronic music. And there's a few tracks that I played a lot on Radio Wales that came from searching for French electronic music, and one of them is still in my playlist in my interval in my tour show. When I was on tour, I've got about 10 tracks that I played before the show, middle, during the intervals. One of them is a French electronic. What's it called? I can't remember now. That's a bit. I've been on tour for a year.
I was not expecting that. French electronic music you were getting into.
I wouldn't say I'm getting into it, but I would find the tracks that I loved. I wish I could play a few now. I really feel like
you can't even see the middle of the fucking road from there.
Yeah, no, it's definitely on the verge.
That's in the verge.
It is. It is in the verge.
That's crashed into a hedge.
Yeah, but so things like that, and then I would bring that to Radio Wales, and they let me play it. Which was brilliant. I can't remember what the hell was that track called. I'll find it for you and play it for you later, I'm sure.
Don't worry, I'll be mentioning later. We're doing a Spotify playlist that goes along with this. Yes.
What the hell was it called then? I'll find it at
Don't
the end
worry,
of this. I'm determined because I want to.
Yeah.
I want to find it and play it anyway. I like it.
Don't worry. At the end of this, what happens is I listen back to the edited version, and then I make a list of all the music that's mentioned by you. And then I email you that list. You email me back a track you'd picked.
Oh, there's a
from
whole.
that album.
I don't need to write. There's a whole elongated, tedious follow-up process of weeks of back and forth. Is there?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of admin that goes on after this.
Right. Okay.
This is a bigger commitment than that text first would have suggested. But
okay.
But
didn't know that
exactly. And I can see already you're like,
not up for that at all.
But most people aren't. But then as soon as they see the list and they go, all right, and they get into it, people have been loving it.
Yeah, well, of course they do, because I really want to find out what that French track was. I can hear it in my head, and I just can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But I loved bringing stuff like that. I would get excited about playing that. You'd have your more mainstream stuff, like, I don't know, whatever it might be, like an REM or whatever it might be, and then you'd stick on a bit of French electronic stuff or some French hip hop or something, whatever that week I'd been looking for, or Songhai blues, that kind of thing. It was really exciting when somebody goes, "Oh, I loved that track. What was it?" And it was great.
Yeah, just sneak that in and then talk about squirrels for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a nice juxtaposition with the absolute bullshit we used to talk about as well.
Yeah, that was there must be some kind of world record that was achieved when I did your podcast with you, The Froth. There's a series of questions for the show, and we only got through one, and the recording was nearly 3 hours. And all of it was talking about a lost squirrel.
Ferrets.
That was it.
Ferrets.
A ferret. Jesus.
I can't believe you talked about it for nearly 3 hours and you don't even know what it was. I was wondering.
Blind.
I was wondering why you talked about squirrels for the whole 3 hours when we were talking about ferret. Yeah, there was a story about a ferret turning up in somebody's ferret. I don't want to get back into the whole 3 hours, but I'll summarise it for you. A ferret had gone missing. Yeah. And had been seen running through the town like Wee Willie Winky, been spotted all over town, and then got in somebody's bed at the end of the night in bed with a stranger. That was all it was, the story. And yeah, we talked about it for about 2.5, 3 hours. Yeah,
3 hours we talked about that. Didn't get to any other questions. We
didn't really get started.
We didn't even answer that question. I don't.
We
think.
didn't really even get to the bottom of it.
So your radio show was a sort of. Short of you wouldn't let that go for 3 hours. Clearly, a producer would get involved.
It was a 2 hour show.
But yeah, so there was bits of that.
You can't do 3 hours on ferrets in a 2 hour show, mate.
No. Well, yeah, you had it edited for the podcast.
That's the problem with radio. Problem with live radio is somebody on after you. That's the beauty of the podcast. I told you, I got nothing. We can carry on talking forever on, yeah?
Yeah, that would be funny. A day of radio shows overrunning. And more and more. Just who does the graveyard hour ends up doing the breakfast show. Just pissed off, angry, had no sleep.
Yeah.
I like radio like that. Just the Wild West of radio. But so you. I was going to say as well about your live shows on tour, because I supported you in 2010, and I do remember the music then as it goes. I thought you chose the music for the intervals and stuff like that. Did you choose, I think I asked you and you said Simon Mason, your tour manager, chose. You had a great song for the end of that tour, the Cat That Looked Like Nicholas Lyndhurst tour. Great show. at the end you had Paolo Nutini, Pencil Full of Lead.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, which is quite
That's
sort of mainstreamy, really, wasn't it? It was quite minimal.
But it's a cracking, and it's a tricky
it was a
one
good.
to choose.
It was a good tune for. It was a good tune for the end of the show. It fitted well at the end of the show. But yeah, no, I think that would have been my. They would all have been my choices. I'm pretty confident. I doubt if I'd have let Simon choose anything.
You wouldn't give him that authority.
No way.
You say let
Simon
him choose
Mason.
anything. He chose everything outside of that.
Yeah.
He did.
He might have chosen. I can't remember. But we would have done it very closely together. You know, we probably did. We probably discussed it, and maybe he. I can't remember. But yeah, but it worked. It worked well. Yeah.
I remember thinking that perfect song for an end of. As I remember watching people, because I'd stay and watch you, obviously, and at the end, I remember watching people walking out, having really enjoyed the show with that song. And I remember thinking, "Oh, that's good." Seeing people, because you don't see that because you're off and back in the green room. But I remember watching the theatre emptying with a really good song. It's a nice sight to see a whole theatre of people going, "Oh, that was really good."
I always put a lot of thought into that end song. So the tour I'm on now, the last two tours actually have been Divine Comedy. I've ended the night on. So I say goodnight. I come off stage. This is the bit we're talking about, and then this is as the lights are coming back on, people are leaving. I try and leave them feeling a certain way, and so I think on the 2000 and I think after that one.
Let's go tour for tour. Talk me through your last song. Tour for tour. Last
tour
song.
for tour.
Good night. Shh, big cheer.
Right. Okay.
Then you want a song.
Right. So the one we're doing now is I'm trying to leave them.
Was your first one?
Oh, Mince Pie. That's okay. That's 12 years ago. What was I finishing on Mince Pie? I can't remember. I'm going to be honest. I can't remember it. It'll come back to me.
So the next one after that was Nicholas Lyndhurst.
After that was Nicholas Lyndhurst, which is the one you're talking about. Paolo Nutini,
one after that was...
One after that, well, the show finished with Wouldn't It Be Nice by the Beach Boys, but that was part of the song. That was part of the show.
Lovely.
It was to a video montage of me and a baked potato in New York, having a lovely time.
Remember it.
Wouldn't It Be Nice? And then after that, to leave was Divine Comedy, National Express. So very sort of feel good, upbeat, bit quirky, very nice. And then this one that I'm tour interrupted at the moment, that I was in the middle of, that I'll hopefully go back to one day, is I wanted a more bittersweet thing, because it's about a show about me and a bloke who start off with nothing in common and then end up with driving each other up the wall, but finding common stuff between us. So I wanted something a bit bittersweet, and it's about my mum dying, now my dad dying, but it wasn't about that. That's lockdown for you. I'll have to rewrite the fucking show now.
Your dad was ill at the.
My dad was ill.
Your dad was ill at the time.
In a home, and so I chose "Absent Friends" which is a less well-known Divine Comedy track, which has got which is a much more bittersweet kind of. It's a beautiful song. I absolutely love it. So I put that on the end. So it leaves people sort of with mixed emotions leaving. Hopefully.
Nice. Lovely.
Reflects the show. But I do put quite a lot of thought into it, despite the fact that I can't remember the one after the mince pie.
Yeah, but no, you did. I do remember that. I remember thinking how perfect that song was for the end of a show. And it made me put a lot more thought into the song I had at the end of like Edinburgh shows. What have you had most recently? Well, I have to put more thought in than you, because I have to bear in mind that a lot of my Edinburgh shows are not going to end well. Yours are...
Oh, come along.
Yours are raucous, sold-out theatre shows where everyone's happy and it's a lovely memory. Mine...
let me just correct you there, mate. Not everyone is happy after my shows.
Well, mine
just go online and
would be 38 people in a room in Edinburgh. That's quite kind, to be fair. I'm questioning whether I can ever do stand-up again, and this song's playing. So I have to put a lot of thought in. Do I want to fucking ruin a song forever for myself? Are
you basically are you choosing a song that just tries to give you a little lift at the end of a shit night?
Yeah, there's that as well. Yeah, I've had the risk before of having quite a melancholy nice song, but I thought, well, I can't have them walking out to that. That's just underlining it.
You just need a song when you come off stage. You need a fucking pick me up. You just need, don't you? You need a musical pick-me-up to get your chin off the floor, to try and get you through the evening. You've had a shit gig again.
I need I'm considering whether I can ever do stand-up. I'm questioning everything. I'm thinking of all the money I've lost.
Yeah.
I need something immediately.
Yeah.
Some of them people in that audience have suffered for an hour. They need something.
Yeah, everyone needs a lift, mate, after your gigs, I find. Everyone and music's great like that. Music can really drag you out of the doldrums, can't it?
From the pits of despair.
That's the amazing thing about music. 38 people and you, all 39 of you, a really great upbeat track can give you a little lift. As soon as they've walked out of the room and the song's gone, then obviously the depression's going to set back in and they're
going to go immediately online and leave comments. But for those 3.5 minutes,
and with a bit of luck, they'll say something about the music. They'll try and put something positive in about the music at the end.
Yeah, that could take. I don't want to talk about the show, but what an uplifting tune he picked at the end. 2 stars.
That was the Times. The Times review. That was.
That's Steve Bennett Chortle. I've had. I can't remember what ones I've had now. I've had. I did have my second one. I had John Allen, who's his music is on the start of this podcast. He's somebody you might not have heard of him. He's somebody I know.
Is it really?
From the pub I used to work in, the Bedford, the Banana Cabaret. He used to play music in the corner. Got to know him. He lived nearby.
Is that where I know the name then? Is that where I know his name from?
I think so, because I'll probably mention him to you.
Yeah.
I'll probably try and get you to play him on Radio Wales.
It could be, yeah.
But I had his song, and so from that I thought, well, I've ruined that song for myself now. So he...
And for him.
Yeah. I told him that, there was a lot riding on his writing every night for a month in August. He had little did he know while he wrote that song. But one I did have that I thought was a cracking one for the end of a show, and that was that show actually went all right, was Stereophonics, Have a Nice Day.
Oh, yeah, I know.
That's a lovely end. But as you walk out... you could see I'd really learnt from the Edinburgh Festival before that I really got to up it. Yeah. With a music choice. Yeah. It's important. It is important. As people leaving, it is important to give it some thought. Isn't it? Any up and coming comedians listening, I would definitely give the music some thought. I mean, equally, I put a lot of thought into before the show and in the interval as well. And I try and stick some quirky stuff in it. So that French electronica, that's in my interval as well. Because even there, I'm trying to sort of go, I might just try and introduce them to a bit of something they might not have heard. Even then, I'm trying to do that little curation thing of introducing music. Even in the intervals, I'm doing that. It's good that you rise above the temptation to get the offstage mic and just go. Just in case anyone's wondering, that is
that is so you can find their music. I guess I just really miss doing that on Radio Wales. So I'm even trying to do it surreptitiously in my gigs subliminally.
That is good to hear. I remember doing a gig once where Milton Keynes Wednesday night. It's an all right gig. I compare it regular once a month. Stables Theatre, lovely theatre. You might have done Stables.
I know very well. Yeah, very nice.
It's a lovely theatre, and the little studio room, little 80-seat studio room on a Wednesday, lovely.
I've never been in there. I've never been in there, obviously.
Oh, obviously you've never seen that. Probably use it as a green room.
Is that next to the big main room? Is it the one?
Yeah. You might have put your coat in there or something.
Is it when you come out of the main room after your great, and then you come past the toilets? It's there it's there. Is it that one?
Yeah.
I know.
Just that puddle of spit out in front of it, where main acts have walked past it.
Walked past it.
Yeah. The little studio room with a comedy night on a Wednesday. Now the audience there, it's next to a little village that's very posh. So the audience are quite middle-aged and posh. They're nice.
Yeah.
But you're not getting a lot on a Wednesday night. They'll stare at you. But so it can be hard. The first act normally dies. Second act just about pulls it round, and we all go home and we meet up in a month. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard to get any energy going. And the techies, it's usually...
Is this a regular gig you do?
Yeah. Yeah, I keep going back.
Why did you do it there if it's so hard every time?
I think my self-esteem is too high.
Right, you just keep your feet on the ground, yeah?
Yeah. Sometimes I think I'm too confident.
Yeah.
But it's not my gig. I just regularly host it, and so there's not a lot of energy. It's a Wednesday night. You know, they've all got to drive there because it's the middle of nowhere. So half of them are sober.
It sounds like the perfect place to do a midweek gig in a place lacking atmosphere with old sober
people, or people that are definitely drink driving. There's a combination of miserable people and lawbreakers.
Yeah.
So this techie, the techies are usually volunteers, so you can't have a go. But he decided 1 month to play barely audible, so low, really low blues for the whole interval, like a blues best of at a low volume for the whole interval. There's a science behind interval music, I've heard. Play it fairly loud, so not too loud, but quite loud, so people have to talk a bit louder, so there's a bit more energy.
Yeah.
He played it low to make people just start mumbling.
Yeah. Well, that psychology of volumes of music is something that I've thought about a lot, and I talk about a lot with when you get to venues and stuff. That's I've got my tour manager Simon Mason now, and he knows exactly what we're doing. But if I go to a gig, the number of conversations I've had where we go, pump the music up, because if you pump the music up, people talk over it. They talk loudly over it, and they get animated and energetic. If you put the music quietly, people whisper under it. That's what happens.
Yeah.
And so, again, anyone listening, if you're running a gig, put the music up quite loud. So
what he did was blues at a low volume. That's what he went for. After the first act and me compound had just died, I thought, well, this gig can't get a lot worse, can it? They
do like though techies and stuff. They're real characters. They're a real breed of their own, techies in theatres and pubs and stuff like that. The people looking after the sound of the lights and everything. They often have their own agenda. They've got and they're trying to entertain themselves. You know, they just put their own music that they like at the level they want, and it's nothing to do with the gig really. They just they're on their own. A lot of them are on their own pathway, aren't they?
Yeah, they're self-employed. They're not working for you. They're working for them, and they make that quite clear straight away. They're like, I'll do what I'm going to do. You can ask me to do shit, but I don't work for you. Let's make that clear. And I've got nothing but contempt for your
chart their own course. A lot of techies, I agree.
Yeah, I like them. They're funny.
Good people. Good people.
Well, I liked your sound check for your the cat that looked like Nicholas Lyndhurst show. You didn't even realise you did this a lot of the time. There's a bit where you had a bit where you were like doing a fake like argument that you were having with your girlfriend at the time, and it was you used to shout. So that was your sound check. You would shout, "I've told you," or something like that. Like, "Stop going on about it." And you used to do that to do the sound check. And you often saw the techie go, "Fucking hell, is he talking to me?" They thought that you were just instantly walking on and complaining about the sound and shouting at them.
Yeah.
And I kept meaning to bring that up.
Times.
Yeah, that's how you did the sound check. And they used to.
I don't remember that, but I do remember the music.
Well, that's good.
Around that show.
So when I asked you to do this podcast as well, you kind of went, "Well, I don't know if I don't know," which made me think, "Oh, you might not be into music that much. You just play what you play on radio." But you sound like you're well into music.
I don't know. I know people who are really into music. So Lloyd Langford, for example, so heavily into blues, so nerdy. Just sits there all morning when I used to live with him, just sitting in his dressing gown and his enormous feet, just sitting there, and I'd say, "What are you doing?" And he would just be ploughing through obscure CDs of blues artists that you've never heard of, and then ordering them all online. This is years ago, and he just thousands and thousands of these obscure blues things. A passion that he got from his dad, I think, and so I'm not like that.
I bet his intervals are quite turgid for his tour shows.
I mean, his life is turgid, isn't it? Let's face it. Everything about him.
I've just mentally booked him for a future podcast. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I'm booking for that Milton Keynes gig as well. They'll love him.
Yeah, he'll bring it up in the second half after he's requested blues for the pissing interval.
I do find I'm not listening to music as much now.
Yeah,
and I keep trying to correct it. I keep telling myself, "You're not listening to music as much now. You're missing it." And go and do something, and then I'll have a spurt where I'll buy a load of albums, vinyl, You know, and then I'll buy too many, and then because in the old days you just used to. I found it a lot easier in the old days because you used to sort of save up, you know, or you'd think I want to buy. I'm going back to the 90s, probably 2000s. You'd kind of go, you know, you'd wake up one morning and go, I really want to get the Blur.
Yeah.
The new Blur album. I want to get that,
Yeah.
and then you'd either, you know, save up for it, or you'd go to a town and you'd get it, and then you'd get it home and you'd play it, and you'd play it, and you'd play it, and then you'd take it out when you went out in the Walkman. You'd have it on in your Walkman, and then you went in the car. You'd have it on in the car, and you played it, and then a few weeks later, you'd go, I really want the Air album, you know, or Radiohead, or whatever it would be, you know, in the 90s, and then you'd get that one and do the same thing. And now, as soon as MP3 players came along. So I used to have an iRiver. Before I had an iPod, I had an iRiver, which was a really good quality, sort of iPod, but better quality, really. Little thing. Just a little MP3 thing. And I had thousands, and not only did I put all my music on there, recorded onto it, but I also, whenever I went to stay with anyone, and this is highly illegal, don't try this at home, but on the circuit, so I would go and stay, you know, I would go and do a gig in Birmingham. I would stay with Gary Delaney in Birmingham, you know, comic. You see on Mock the Week a lot, or, you know, or I would stay, you know, if it was with you or wherever, whoever we were gigging together, you'd stay with that comic's house, and then I would literally just get all of their CDs off their CD rack, you know, and I'd put 30 of them there, and I would transfer them all on. So suddenly I had 30 new CDs that day. Well, and then you just wouldn't really listen to them, you know, and so suddenly you've got, you know, 28,000 tracks on digitally, and 20,000 of them you're never going to listen to, and that was, I think, for me the start where music for me started to go a bit, and the Radio Wales thing was really good because it kept me in the mix a bit on music, but I found now I don't listen to it anywhere near as much as I'd like to.
Yeah, because you used to buy an album, and like you said, but I've done that where I've gone, I want that album and that. I've been meaning to get that. If I buy 3 or 4 albums at the same time, I don't enjoy any of them as much as I would have.
You spread yourself too thinly, music-wise. 100%.
Yeah. It becomes a chore. You're like, right, I've got to listen to this one so I can listen to the next one. Yeah.
It works with everything in life. If you walk past a bakery and you look in the window, there's a chocolate eclair there, and you think, fucking hell, I want that chocolate eclair. I'm going to do my shopping, I'm going to go around to wherever, and I'm going to come back and get that chocolate eclair. If you do that, it's amazing, isn't it? But if you just went in that bakery, well, I'll have a chocolate eclair, pack of pancakes, I'll have a custard slice, 2 of them Danish, and you just sit there with a massive bag of pastries. What are you going to do then? That's no life. There's no way to live, is it?
No, you're going to add to the obesity.
But that's what I did. It genuinely just changed it. So now I was overwhelmed. I had too much. I didn't quite know what to listen to next, and had too many, and then you just find yourself a bit like Netflix. You know, Netflix now. You sit there, you spend 1 hour. This is a cliche, but you spend 1 hour going, should we watch that, not that, and then you go, fuck, it's time for bed. You haven't watched anything. I find music was a bit once we got into MP3s and iPods, and you've got 8,000 tracks on your thing. I found myself a bit like that. I couldn't. So then you end up on shuffle, and it's just not as satisfying as buying an album, listening to an album relentlessly, and then moving on once you're ready, kind of thing. I preferred that. I'm old.
I'm exactly the same. That's exactly the example I thought of when you started talking about that. Netflix, where you
It's exactly the example I thought of. That's why I said it.
Yeah, and you absolutely nailed it and said it far more succinct than I probably would.
I don't know about that,
mate. With Netflix, I get angry at myself. Do you do that? Where you flick through and go, I'm so fucking indecisive. What is wrong with me? This is my problem in life.
Yeah.
And I start hating myself.
Well, in the old days, you would go to Blockbuster Video, and you would stand in front of the racks, and your indecision was all played out in there. And then you'd get home and the indecision was over because you had your thing to watch, wasn't it? Whereas now we're sitting in our lounges doing the equivalent of scouring the Blockbuster racks for an hour before you think. But that was kind of more interesting because it was a more engaging environment in Blockbusters with other people coming and going and wondering whether your car was still all right parked on double yellows outside, whatever it was. It was more engaging than sitting in your lounge.
And there was only one left of one of the copies. Someone could come and get that in a minute, so you better make your mind up.
And you could go and have a quick look at the filth over in the corner.
You could, yeah. There's that.
And you could buy snacks.
Yeah, Um,
And you fancied the girl who worked behind the counter. There's loads more going on.
Yeah.
Now I'm just sat next to my wife.
On the... You're very confident she's not going to listen to this. When we're going to watch something on Netflix, we have to have a recce the day before. Like a good hour. Like you have a good look through.
Yeah.
Add stuff to my list, and then you just plough through my list. But this is all the same with music now. Spotify, YouTube. I have YouTube on like an iPad with a speaker in the kitchen while I'm cooking, and I just find songs come on that I used to love, and now I'm just like, fuck, I've had that come on random about 12 times now, and it's starting to piss me off, and I love that song. And you don't value any of it anymore.
No,
so
that's the thing. Yeah.
Did you, when you were, it's a standard question I asked, what did your parents listen to? Do you remember when you were a kid getting into music? Do you remember hearing it?
Well, my dad was into classical stuff, a lot of classical music in the house, but he was also a jazz pianist.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much blind and couldn't read music, but completely by ear. He played jazz piano, and he was a pianist in a nightclub in Norway, like an all-night seedy sort of nightclub in Norway, where he would just sort of play these tunes. And he played in my wedding, actually. He played in our wedding in 2013. Him and his band, the Swing Boys, they called themselves. They were all in their 80s. It's hilarious. And my dad was blind and couldn't read music, but he was brilliant. Pianist. I did his... Talking of music and my dad, he died in October, right? And I did a wake in the night. So we had the funeral, socially distanced, 10 of us, whatever, And then I did a wake, right? And I was hosting a Zoom wake. And from people all over the world came to this thing. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. It was a lovely celebration of his life, and I played his music, and people got up and read poems and talked about him and what have you, right?
Oh, that sounds nice.
And we all give a little speech and things. It was really nice. And then at the end, I ended it with, talking of ending music, right? I ended it with a track, one of my dad's favourite tracks, which reminded him, it was Fats Waller, Two Sleepy People. And if you don't know it, check it out. It's a beautiful track, Two Sleepy People, and it ends on the words good night, like that, right? So I finished this Zoom thing with this Fats Waller went good. Everybody's crying, right, because it's quite emotional, and I finished it and the Fats Waller song went good night, and I just went, because I just went good night dad, good night everyone, and that was it, right? And then everybody was waving, kind of thing. And then my iTunes flipped onto the fucking Arctic Monkeys. my last memory of that night is it flipped onto it was I think it was Make You Look Good on the Dance Floor. It was one of the ones that starts really guitar thrashy like that.
Yeah.
And it was all my abiding memory of the night is seeing all these faces just like that. And my nephew just went like this. And then I clicked leave meeting for all, finished the Zoom thing like that. That was the last few seconds.
That is beyond a sitcom, that.
It was weirdly, it worked. I was saying to Sian after my wife said that, what? I can't believe it. That went so well. And then that, she goes, it worked. She said it was fine. It was fine. No, it was very, somehow it was really powerful. I've got it on. I've got the end of the Zoom. You can put that up on your thing if you want. I recorded it.
Yeah, lovely poignant moment completely undermined. That would be lovely. That sounded like you absolutely nailed it. You thought, oh fuck, I've nailed this. This can't,
It was so good.
What a lovely moment for all of us. And then, see, that's what you don't get.
iTunes, I'd forgotten. I planned it all. You can plan almost everything, can't you? But then I just hadn't planned that iTunes automatically goes on to the next thing.
Apple have to get involved, don't they?
Yeah.
Steve Jobs.
There you go. Yeah, they stole my dad's wake, but it was funny, man. It was funny.
Hilarious.
But so he was jazz, piano stuff, Fats Waller, that kind of thing, and then a lot of classical. I don't think my mother was. She wasn't. I think she just liked sort of anything. Really, she wasn't especially. She was musical, but she wasn't. I never really knew what she was into. I never heard her buy any music or saw her buy any music. She would just dance around to whatever came on the radio. But I'm not sure how much they influenced my taste in music, really. I remember thinking when I was growing up, I thought my parents' taste in music was really boring. You know, when
Well, you would.
Classical music and stuff. You don't really want that, do you?
I mean, you can just about get that into that in your 40s kind of thing. But as a kid, that would have been like another world.
I like it now.
Yeah,
I like it now, especially
jazz.
Jazz and stuff now. I love listening to jazz now. But God Christ, when you're 8 years old, you don't want to listen to fucking jazz.
No.
I remember with my dad going on about. I remember saying to my dad when I was about, I was before secondary school. I remember saying to my jazz that this sounds like that they've just given the wrong music to everybody and told them to play at the same time. That was my definition of jazz at about 8 years old, 9 years old.
You said that at 8 or 9 years old.
It was before secondary school. I could see my dad sitting in his chair, listening to, I don't know, whatever it was, some classical stuff, and I can remember saying that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was one of those things that my dad would bring up, and say, ask me if I've started to appreciate it yet, or do you still think it? That's why I remember it, is because it was a family thing.
But I mean, that is quite a witty, cutting comment at that age.
Oh, it is. It's like fucking. Hey, honestly, it's like what's his face, isn't it? It's like Stephen Fry, not Stephen Fry. Who did Stephen Fry play? Oscar Wilde. That is, mate. It's Oscar Wilde.
Yeah. Well, at that age, yeah. I could see the comedy career happening from a young age, and then, are you the oldest?
No, youngest.
Oh, you're the youngest. So
yeah.
Did they push music onto you?
Oh, my brother and sister.
Yeah.
Well, my sister was into the Beatles and stuff, no, my brother was into heavy metal, like really into heavy metal. He had a denim jacket with, heavy rock and roll, heavy metal. He had posters of, from Led Zeppelin, Status Quo, Saxon, Michael Schenker Group, UFO. Oh God, what all of that kind of stuff, Motorhead, yeah, and I wasn't into it at all. Not at all, but because he was my brother, he was quite influential. So I started this. I'm really young at this point. I'm again pre 10 years old probably, or early, very maybe 10, 12, 30.
Yeah.
I used to. I tried to be into Def Leppard, and I did quite like their first 3 albums. But I was sort of like when you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what the fuck you're all about. So I said that they were my favourite band, and I was into them and stuff like that. But I was faking it, and I couldn't. And like my brother was really into it, and had a denim jacket with patches all over it. Those sew-on patches with Status Quo and that kind of stuff all over it. It had hundreds and hundreds of albums, and I just had these. I didn't even have the Def Leppard ones. I think they were his, but I just sort of said, though, these are my favourite band. And but you can't sustain that kind of pretense, can you? If it's not authentic. I tried to style it out, but and I went off them as soon as they started things like Animal and that kind of stuff. The first 3 albums were On Through the Night, Def Leppard, and Pyromania. They were good. I liked those.
You gave it a good go. 3 albums.
He did have some great. He had some stuff with him that stuck with me though. He's like in my playlist on my show, in the interval, is the Zombies. She's Not There, and that has stuck with me since I was a child. Like my brother had an album called Formula 30, and it had some great stuff on there. Small Faces, it had Shalalala Lee, Ichiku Park, it was some, I think I'm right in saying there's some brilliant stuff on there. Substitute, The Who. Yeah. And then one track on there from a band called The Zombies that I'd never heard of, and She's Not There, and to this day, that's my favourite track. So that is in my playlist on this current show and every previous show. And I must have played it on Radio Wales dozens of times, I imagine. That is
wow. So he did influence you
my
a
most
bit.
favourite. Yeah, totally. Well, that track certainly came from him. Yeah.
So I like the thought of you thinking, right, they're my favourite band.
Yeah,
it's quite a child thing.
You know that thing where you,
they're my favourite band.
Yeah, and it was only because my brother was into it, and I had no identity, no ideas of my own. I was literally nothing.
So then, when did you get? When did you get your own identity and your ideas your own? When music came in a after that? What band did you go, oh no, this is how it feels to have a favourite band?
Well, I don't think I ever had a favourite band after that. The Zombies was always my favourite track since then, really.
Yeah.
I must have realised that in my about 10, 12 years older, that was my favourite track. And it's been ever since. And I think I was probably quite a lot older. I think then I went through I grew up in a very sort of normal town, Welsh town, small town, without much really interesting musical stuff happening. There was one punk in our town called Trance. Anthony's a friend of mine who's sadly no longer with us, but he was called Trance the Punk. He was called the Trance the Punk was his nickname. He was the one punk. And nobody really knew what he was doing. There wasn't, or certainly it didn't touch me. If there was a music scene more interesting, it didn't touch me. I was part of I was just in a comprehensive school with a bunch of lads and girls and very, very normal. And we just listened to what was in the charts, and we just got fed whatever was in the charts. And none of us were going, hey, have you heard this that's going on?
Yeah.
On some weird obscure thing. Hey, have you heard this pirate radio station? There was none of that. We got fed whatever was in the charts, and we went for it, and we liked it. So my teenage years were all U2, Simple Minds, Cyndi Lauper, whatever was. I took it on face value. That's it.
Yeah.
And some of that could be heavy metal-ish. It could be Iron Maiden one minute. It could be literally fucking Krista Burr the next minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was some of it really embarrassing, but. It was whatever was in the charts. Absolutely, I think probably the first time where I started to go, okay, I'm actually developing more of a taste was probably in the 90s, where I started to go, because I missed things like Manchester.
Yeah,
I missed the Manchester rave scene and the Hacienda and all of that. I just completely passed me by. I don't know where I was. Well, I know I was in France for a year of it, but fuck knows what I was doing for the rest of it. But I guess in the 90s, I started getting into a bit of, I guess it was Britpop probably was the first thing that came along where I went, I really like this. And my brother's not around anymore. I don't live at home with my family. There's nothing, this is just me on my own. And I started getting into Radiohead and Portishead, I got Blur, I know Air's not Britpop, but, Blur, Oasis, all of that stuff. Supergrass, whatever it was.
Yeah. Wow, so you that is funny that this the thought of your town. That's not a music scene, is it? One bloke as a punk.
No, there was. There may have been somebody listening to this might go, oh, you missed out. I'm prepared to accept that I might have missed out.
That is the thing.
But there was,
music...
to my knowledge, there was nothing. There was no live music scene. I didn't know anybody in bands. I never met anyone in a band. I'd never been to a live music gig.
No, me neither.
There was nothing.
I mean, where was your nearest big town? Was it Swansea?
Well, it would have been Swansea was the nearest city. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there would have been. I feel vaguely guilty because I'm sure there would have been probably stuff happening. But I wasn't tuned into it. It's a wavelength and a frequency, isn't it? I wasn't tuned into that. My friends weren't. We weren't.
That's the funny thing when they talk about music scenes that happen like Manchester and Britpop. And that, like, every single person in the country was a part of it at that time. If you say it to someone who was around at that time, do you remember that? Quite often people are like, I don't know, I was fucking working.
Yeah.
I don't remember Manchester. All that shit to do.
No, it all completely, absolutely passed me by, But then I wasn't. I was pretty mainstream. I was pretty very sort of normal. I wasn't particularly into music, and I wasn't into drugs, and I wasn't into any reason really why I would have got into it particularly. I knew Stone Roses and things. I liked them, but there wasn't a calling. I didn't feel that calling. I think that's what it is, isn't it? Is if you feel that calling to that group of people and that music, and I didn't feel it. I guess. I wish I had. I really wish I had.
Yeah. Yeah, so you sound like there's not like a band that you'd say I'm absolutely obsessed with them.
Never been. No.
So you're like, I'm a bit like that with like football. Like, I don't support a team. I just like the game and players.
That's quite rare, isn't it? That.
Yeah, so it's like that with music quite often. Is that not everyone has a band they're obsessed with. You're just obsessed with music, and you dip in and out of stuff like that. You sound a bit more like that.
Yeah, definitely. definitely.
You
And lots
remember
of different genres as well. Lots of different genres I really enjoy. You know, I really like jazz. I really like blues. I really like sort of, I wouldn't describe it as Welsh music, but things like Super Furries and, you know, that kind of stuff. And then I really like Britpop stuff. I quite like some classical stuff.
All right. Yeah, because you're little bit older than me, so you'd have appreciated Britpop a bit more. I was really young and just starting to get into music.
Yeah, I was in my 20s, so that was great.
That'd been good.
That was good. Yeah, it was good. It was good. And Catatonia and all that. Yeah, there was some. There was great stuff. Great stuff around it.
Was you quite aware at the time of Britpop? Do you remember thinking, "Fucking hell, there's shitloads of bands at the moment"?
Yeah, definitely. And Blur and Oasis was so dominant. You know, not just in the charts, back then the charts was still a thing. I mean, I don't know what role the charts plays for young people anymore. I don't imagine it plays much of a role. But back then it was still sort of, you know, the charts on a Sunday evening on Radio 1 kind of thing, and who's going to be number one. And I'm sure these conversations go on today, but they don't feel like they've got a national resonance. That it felt like everybody would have, even my parents would have known the Blur versus Oasis sort of, you know, kind of thing, and everybody would have known about that thing, and it was a really sort of, it felt like a thing of some national importance. Now I don't imagine that so and so featuring so and so featuring so and so featuring so and so featuring so and so is that bigger deal. Is it? I don't know.
Every now and again, you see someone saying about a song or an artist that they the most downloaded artist of this year or number one on the blah 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 charts this year, and you can tell even the band are like, "Are we? Fuck, well, fuck no."
Yeah, exactly. It's like boxing belts, isn't it? You know.
No, yeah, it's been all.
Everybody's number one in some chart or other, you know. So if you, or everyone's got some kind of boxing belt, you know. It's like WBO versus WBO.
Yeah, the interim belt.
That's the one.
I remember I do remember at school that when people knew who was number one. I remember that. I remember as well thinking as well how thick I was, that you see who was number one that week, and I'd go, who chose that as the best song? I didn't realise it was who had sold the most. I thought someone had picked the songs in order of how good they were, and I'd be fucking furious that someone was at number 12. It's like, yeah, but that was out 4 months ago. That's why.
Do people
12.
listen to the charts anymore? I mean, I used to record the charts as a kid. So you had the radio, and then when I was as I went through my earlier years, we had a radio with a little cassette deck in the front, and you could press play and record, and you could record the radio. So we used to I used to record the charts. That was how I got my music and played my music. I didn't have any. I didn't really have any. My brother had albums. He used to buy albums because he was working, you know, like a bit older. But I didn't have any money or anything, so I used to just record the charts. That was my music. So you'd have a little tape with this week's charts on it, and it was the top 10 or whatever. And so you had the ones that they played out of the top 10 from the radio. That was your music collection.
Yeah, there was.
And then next Sunday you'd record it again, and you would sit there. You know, I can remember Sunday nights were about who was the countdown. And who was up 2 places at number 4, and who was down a bit. And that was my music collection. Was my little cassette with the charts. April 4th, week of commencing April 4th, whatever. You know, not week commencing. Yeah. That's a very adult admin thing to do. But you know, the charts this week.
14.
Yeah.
Week commencing.
Yeah, but it had an impact on you. You know, you cared where the songs you liked were and their positions relative to others and stuff. You know, and you were disappointed when you got to number 1. Is that still a thing? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if young people now have that same relationship with music. They may do. I don't know.
But I remember that where there were songs on that top 10. You'd record the top 10 or something like that. The songs on there you had no interest in that are now still are deeply ingrained in you just because they were on there. Somewhere between 3 songs that you actually liked in that top 10. You had it for ages.
I used to go to Glastonbury around that in the 90s as well. I used to go to Glastonbury quite a lot. That was
Did you?
That was a nice place to discover bands and things. Yeah. And until recently I was going to the Six Music Festival. That's a great place for new music.
Where is that held? That one?
It varies. So the one it changes every year. So they stopped it for a while. I think there was one. There was one up in like Aberdeen or something, or Dundee or something. The one I went to was in Bristol. I think they've had one in London. So it moves all over the place. But it's a great. You get a ticket, a pass for the whole weekend, sort of thing. And then I've seen some great stuff there, like White Denim and. I don't know. I think I saw Songhai Blues there, but some great stuff, Goat and people like that. Some great fun, slightly less well-known stuff going on there.
Is there a band at Glastonbury that you remember seeing at Glastonbury? Is there a band at Glastonbury who you weren't that bothered about or that into that you saw play live and then
Chemical Brothers?
Chemical
Brothers I discovered in Glastonbury on the other stage. Definitely didn't know anything about them when I rocked up. Absolutely. I mean, very, very small crowd. We're talking about being there at the start of somebody's thing. I mean, they obviously had a bit of a following because they were on the other stage, not the main stage. But that was, you were like, oh, okay, all right, this is something. This is a thing. Do you know what? I can't remember now because I get my festivals mixed up. So, where was it that I saw Courtney Barnett? Was that Green Man Festival maybe? People like that I've discovered. But definitely festivals are a place for... Green Man, says Sean. All right, there we are.
Hi, Sean.
It was a passing heckle as she walked past. But Radiohead I saw in Glastonbury. But I was a huge fan of Radiohead. But I was with a girlfriend at the time who she didn't really think they were boring, but she wasn't into their sound like I was, right? And she got really drunk, and there was like 100,000 people there. She was at the back of the field, and just to wind me up, she was going boring, right to the back. And it was one of the mud years. It was in the late 90s, and it was like the mud was incredible. You were up to your knees in it, like this is why we were at the back, I think, trying to get somewhere that was vaguely dry. It was like horrific. And she was going, boring. I was going, shut the fuck up with you. And she found it tremendously amusing.
Oh, I thought that was going to end with she got pelted with mud from.
Oh, worse than that. She slipped and fell in the mud, and about 15 in a single file Japanese people came through, pushing through the crowd, all in emergency ponchos. And every single one of them, it was a comedy sketch, honestly, every single one of them trod on my girlfriend's head. So the whole thing, all I could do was like, boring. Ow! Sorry. It's like, ow! Sorry. Ow! Sorry. She was getting all of them just trod on her as they pushed through this crowd. It was one of the funniest moments of my life. Absolutely Monty Python. Boring. Ow! Sorry. 15 times in a row. Her head got deeper and deeper into the mud. Just left her down there. Fuck it.
Yeah, well, yeah. She's not going to appreciate the bends. She deserves to be there. But do you like what about all the as they went massively changed from album? Did you go with it? Was
from
it
Kid A?
Yeah. Was there some albums that you went? Oh no,
not at all. No, they the big change.
You went with them.
Yeah, it was the first ones were Pablo Honey, the Bends, OK Computer, and then with Kid A they changed. Yeah, and the word on the street was, they've changed it. No, I loved it. I loved Kid A. I went with them.
Oh, good. Well, I'll be honest. My older brother's a massive Radiohead fan, and that kind of sort of turned me against them a bit because he was so. And I was into Oasis, so he was kind of, they're fucking free chords, This is real music, so that made me go, fuck off, Radiohead.
Yeah.
But later after I got into them and then had to go, all right, fair enough. I see what he was saying.
Yeah.
See what he was saying, but I'm still what's the story, Morning Glory, till I die.
Yeah, well, fair enough. But if you listen to Radiohead now, it's really interesting. If you listen to a Radiohead track on your phone, on your music thing on your phone, your Apple Music or whatever it is, and the lyrics scroll up the screen, with the sort of ball on the top jumping along the lyrics of Radiohead. They haven't got the ball jumping along the top, but the lyrics scroll up the screen as the track is playing. It's like a feature of the app. And check it out, it's really interesting. Because I guarantee you almost every single line that you ever sang along with Radiohead was wrong.
All right. Well,
you're like going, that shirt makes you look pretty ugly, and it's like that sure makes you so whatever. It's everything. You're like, what is that? What Tom is singing there? It
would be quite hard to hear the actual lyrics over all of those guitar effects.
Yeah. It's a big wall of sound, isn't it? And he really draws it out, But it's quite interesting to look at the lyrics, because you go, God, is that what he's been singing the last 20 years? I've been listening to that. I had no idea.
Yeah. Sometimes that makes the song better, or sometimes worse.
Well, it means you can revisit it and find something new every time.
Yeah. Because you'd have met quite a few musicians when you hosted Nevermind the Buzzcocks. Did you?
Yeah.
The problem with musicians, I find, is it must be hard for them, because they're just musicians, and sometimes they're interviewed and they're expected to be interesting or articulate or funny, and you're like, well, you think, well, they write songs. That's how they express themselves. Don't expect them to say it all. But was there that, rather than be negative, be positive on Buzzcocks? was there some musicians?
Fair, that's how I ran the show. I tried to be positive. I tried to take it in a more positive direction, perhaps. But go on.
Yeah, that's what I thought with what the musicians. Some of them, they would have come on and you thought, oh fuck, he might be hard work, or she might not really have much to say for herself. Was there ones that really surprised you and were really funny and a good laugh?
The only one I remember saying it is the only one I remember because in 2009 I hosted it, but I'd never hosted it before. I'd been on it once on the panel 4 years earlier, but they invited me back to host it in 2009, and I'd been on tour, I think somewhere in Newcastle or something like that, and I had a city centre hotel after the tour. You might even have been with me, I can't remember, but I couldn't sleep. I was nervous about Buzzcocks, and there was noise outside. There was like stag and end do's outside city centre. And in the end, about 4 a.m, I sort of went into the toilet and took my duvet and pillow into the toilet in this hotel room, and I was lying there trying to get some sleep, and I got about 2 hours kip in the end. And then I went into town in the morning and I bought a T-shirt for the show that night, and then I travelled down to London, and I got there, and then of course I'm in briefing meetings and stuff, and it was a big deal for me
exhausting.
At the time. Big deal.
Yeah.
And I was knackered and stuff. And then, what's his name? Kemp. Martin Kemp.
Spandau Ballet.
Yeah. So he was on the panel, right? And going into that gig, hosting Buzzcocks first time, you're aware of its legacy. You're aware of things that have happened on their big moments where people have walked off and what have you, You're aware that musicians can have egos, and you're aware that the script that's been got together with your involvement, but it can be, quite harsh. Yeah. And so you're quite nervous. So I can remember standing outside and meeting, it's Martin Kemp, isn't it?
Yeah.
Martin Kemp. Outside, and me kind of going, look, I hope you're taking it the right way, it's just going to be a laugh, and...
Yeah.
And then he said something like, well, if it's not, I'll just walk off, won't I? Or something like that. And rather than going, I've never been the type of person to go, oh, great, that's what we want. Look at the viewing figures. That'll be really hilarious if I can make him walk off. I've never been like that. I want to have fun. I want people to have fun. Everyone, inclusive, And so I thought, oh, fucking hell, I'm going into this now. And the guy sitting next to me is already threatening to walk off in a minute, And nerve-wracking, and I'd asked them to get Greg on for a bit of. They said, who do you want to get on with you if you want somebody you know well to get on so as a friendly face there, because it's a big gig. So I got Greg there, and what have you, and he was on the panel.
Greg Davies,
and then Kemp, and then Kemp was absolutely start to finish delightful. Like as soon as the cameras came on, he was funny. Engaging, charming, fucking warm, generous. He was fucking brilliant. The relief, honestly, for me was just immense. So that's the only one I really, really remember. After that, it's you're week by week. You're into a production thing. I remember Adam Ant being on there. I remember Matt Healy from 1975. I can remember people being on there. What's his name from the Sex Pistols? What's his name? I can't remember now.
Johnny Rotten?
No. Bassist, whose name I forget.
Shit.
I can't remember now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I remember people being on there, but he stands out the most because I was so nervous going out there. I was a nervous wreck, you know. And then he was just good as gold. I remember thinking, was he winding me up? Was he? I don't know. Christ knows. I got
But
no
I bet
idea.
every time you see him on anything else on telly now, you go, there he is, like an old friend.
yeah,
there he
exactly,
is.
Yeah.
His son now is a radio DJ.
Is he?
And he's really good. And I did a warm up on a TV show, and he was on it, and he was very much like you've described his dad. He was really funny, engaging, brilliant. Yeah. He was really funny. But so to finish off then, Rod, one is you miss song pushing a little bit. You don't get to do it as much.
Yeah.
You could just finish off on just one final one. If there is a song or an album, or even just an artist you don't think probably everyone knows of, or they even do, but you don't think they're maybe people don't like them as much as they possibly could, that you would implore them to try and get into. There's someone you're into at the moment that you would. I remember.
Who would I put if I was on Radio Wales now? Who would I push today?
Oh, that's a good.
Is that a good way of saying it?
That's a better question than I've just asked you. Go with your question. That's far better.
So what I would do if this was a Friday and the show was on tomorrow, and the producers going, "Hey, have you got your songs ready? You got them? Come on, mate. We need them through. It's Friday. I've got to dig them up." And then because they've got to do an edit. They've got to listen to them, check a language, check they're suitable and everything. Especially they used to fucking hate it when I used to give them French songs because they used to have to get them translated to see. So, but this was what would happen. The producer would be like you.
Radio Wales.
This is exactly what would happen.
So we get Tracy. She got B. GCC French.
She's got GCSE French. But this is exactly what happened. They would ring me up and go, right, you got your choices, and then I would today, Friday, I would go out there and I would find something and go, I really love that. I want to introduce that to Radio Wales. So we can we'll do it that way.
In real time, then. We'll do it in real time. This could be my gift to you.
Yeah.
That just one that and we'll put it on the end, and I'll mention it in the description or something. That's the one, the last song.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I will. I'll go and spend the rest of my day rooting around,
signing for packages and rooting around.
Yeah. In the gaps between
avenues.
Packages arriving and me doing other podcasts.
Yeah. This is what you'll do. Oh, there you go then. Lovely. Thanks, Rod.
I'll find a track. Pleasure.
It has been a bloody pleasure to talk to you as usual.
Who would you introduce me to?
I didn't expect that to come back at me. That's hard, isn't it? I realised the position.
Quid pro quo, mate. Don't get something for nothing. Quid pro quo. I want. This is like a really benign music-based Silence of the Lambs. Yeah. I'll give you some information. You give it back.
I've got one. I've got one that a newer band to me, but a few people know them. I can't believe how great they are. Not everyone knows of them. I think a lot of younger people do. DMAs. They're called DMAs, and just the letters.
DMAs, yeah.
DMAs. They supported Liam Gallagher on tour, and I heard them on the radio and thought, I'll give them a listen just because they supported him. And now I can't stop listening to them. And what's funny about them is they look like scallies from Manchester, or they look like, they're trying to look, look like geezers from East London or something, and they're Aussies. They're all from Sydney. They're dressed like they're English, and they must be in a lovely warm climate, dressed in like big Burberry shirts and hats and stuff like. You must be sweating your asses off, lads.
Must be a fashion statement.
It must be. But
it's weird when people don't just dress completely for practicality, isn't it?
Yeah. You have to have your old. It's all right for the video of the song, but you're gonna have to spend your day like that. But yeah, DMAs start off with the track Silver. Okay. What a song that is! What a song! I think I've pushed them recently on somebody else. But yeah,
I'll check them out.
And I'll put it on the end. Thanks,
okay,
Rod.
mate. Yeah, well, nice. That's a nice little teaser. I will find something today and stick it on there. Can it be in any language?
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm not.
I quite like a bit of Malian blues, and I quite like a bit of French hip hop and stuff. So it could be, or it could be Welsh.
Oh God, could be anything.
Could be anything.
Lovely.
Could be anything.
A podcast from producer Paul.co.uk.